Hello and welcome back to Mindbody Medicine for Chronic Pain. I am your host, Sean Hershey, and I am so glad that you are with me today. So we are hitting episode 9, which has me like, oh my God, like I swear I feel like didn't we just start this? Like, didn't we just have episode 1? I'm like, whoa, we're already at episode 9. So, season 1 is 12 episodes long, which I said in the trailer. So we are already like way over halfway through. That's shocking. And here we are. Here we are, you and me, and I'm glad you're here with me. So, okay, today we have a really great interview with my clinical consultant and my friend, Dr. Laura Pearl. We met each other because we started our private practices around the same time, and we were part of a listserv together. And Laura posted she sent out an email to the listserv being like, I'm starting a supervision group. Who wants to join a supervision group? And I had just left my job and I was like, starting my practice, and I was like out on my own. And I was like, yeah, I totally need some support. I need a group. So I responded. And it turned out, I went to the first meeting thinking, and this was all online. This was all virtual. So I go to the first meeting thinking like, it'll be like a whole group. And, and it was me and Laura, just the two of us. We were the only people who, like took that bait. And at first we were like, oh, okay, we'll find other people, we'll keep the invite open. But we met every week and we kept meeting, and she would advise me on where I was stuck with my clients. I would advise her on where she was stuck with her clients. And after a few weeks, we were like, no, we're not adding anyone. Like, we've got a good thing going and we are not adding anyone. And then, as time went on, that was 2021. So it was still like pretty like, very much pandemic era, like high key pandemic era back then. And we didn't meet in person for months. And then after maybe almost a year, she broke the ice and was like, you want to hang out in person sometime? and we're both in New York. She's in Manhattan and I'm in Brooklyn. So then we did meet in person, and now we're professional friends and real friends. And Laura knows a lot about trauma. That's why I wanted to have her join us today. And even more importantly than that, Laura is the one who turned me on to the idea of using mind-body work to heal chronic pain. She had gone to Nicole Sachs's retreat, and I was, I mean, if you want the whole story, it's in the first episode, which is Who is Sean Hershey. You can check that out. I'm not going to go all into that again, but she was the one who turned me on to this idea. And when I looked at Nicole Sachs's website at Laura's suggestion, I was like, oh, wow, no, is this for real? Like, whoa. And it filled me with such hope. And it changed my life. It really changed my life. And that was October of 2022. So it was well into knowing each other when we first started talking about this stuff. But okay, before we get to the interview, let me just say, if you're interested in weekly individuals therapy, by all means, I would love to meet you. You can contact me through my website, which is mindbodymedicineforchronicpain.com or SeanHershey.com. Either one works. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow the podcast so you know when the new episodes will drop. Please rate the podcast and write a written review for the podcast. The more ratings and written reviews that are out there, the more this will get attention from other people. And don't we all want more attention on mind-body medicine for chronic pain? Dr. John Strax, if anyone is familiar with him, he just sent out an email saying that a patient came to him because they typed into Chat GPT, I have back pain, what should I do? And lo and behold, There's, Chat GPT. I don't know if you've used it, you know how it is. It's prolific. Like it'll type out a lot of stuff. Like it doesn't give you like a sentence or two. It gives you not just a paragraph, but like a whole page. So Chat GPT has like a multiple bullet points of here are suggestions. Many of them were about mind body work, which is like, wow, that's amazing. Like Chat GPT knows about this. Like that means this stuff is getting into the mainstream because like, I mean, I don't know exactly how that works, but like humans feed that algorithm and then it, however AI works, like whatever, that's beyond me. But people know about this. ChatGPT knows about this. So let's and so this patient came to John Strax and is going to get proper treatment for chronic back pain from Dr. John Strax. And you all know, I mean, because you've been there, you've been through it. You know what it's like to get treatment that doesn't work. Treatment for chronic pain and chronic symptoms and chronic conditions that doesn't solve the problem. You know what that's like. Ooh, we want to cut down on that, right? We want people to know that this stuff is out there. So this is a really, really long way of saying, please rate the podcast, write a written review for the podcast. I would appreciate it. It's cool for me and it's cool for this work. Okay. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at My Gay Therapist if you want to follow me over there. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into this interview with my friend and colleague, Dr. Laura Pearl. Hello, everyone. I am here with Laura Pearl, who is my consultant and also my good friend. Hi, Laura. Welcome.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. And one of the most important things that actually people who are like fans of the podcast who listen to this will already know is that you are the one who first introduced me to the concept of mind body healing for chronic pain. And you were the first person to like make that connection in my life. So that is huge. And it's an honor to have you joining us on the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been important to me.
Cool. All right. Okay. So let's start with this. Why don't you just start by introducing yourself and say a little bit about what you do professionally, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I'm a therapist. I've been in private practice since 2021, and I do two kinds of therapy: EMDR, which is trauma therapy, and I do Gestalt therapy, which is kind of a somatic parts work based therapy, and I kind of blend them together. And I work with a lot of people who experienced childhood trauma, often quite severe childhood trauma, but also people who just were um, had misattunement with their parents or different kinds of relational trauma as a child.
Cool. Yeah. Um, well, why don't we get into this? Why don't you say a little bit about your story with like your own chronic pain and the mind body connection? And because like I know that's how we first got into the conversation, the two of us. So why don't you say a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. So, I mean, I have, I guess, more than one symptom, but the main symptom that I use mind body medicine with is arthritis. So I guess what happened was I was running, I had been running, and I like stopped for a while, and then I started again. I didn't really stretch very well, and I somehow injured myself, not too shockingly. Um, it was kind of a weird whole experience. Like I never really knew what was wrong with it, but like because it was, I think it's because I was running that day, but it was like maybe like an hour or two later that I got this like very severe pain in one of my knees, and I like almost couldn't get home. I was at the Starbucks. I still remember I almost couldn't get home because I couldn't walk. And yeah, and then I was like, you know, doing a lot of treatment for that for I mean, that was probably in I'm gonna say 2014, maybe. Um, and I was doing a lot of treatment for that. Um, maybe it's relevant to mention that I did have kind of stressful life at that time too.
Mm. Mhm.
You know, so there was other reasons why this bad.
Yeah, totally. Because it's
But,
never just about, the quote unquote injury.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, so I went to lots of doctors. I went to physical therapy. They all said, like, "There's nothing wrong with you, though," which, like, really pissed me off. Because I mean, even at that time, I mean, I just had the injury, like, seemed like there must have been something wrong with me.
Right, right, and that's also interesting. It's good to, like, note that because, like, people will get different responses. Like, some chronic pain patients get like, "Oh, man, there is something wrong with your knee. We gotta fix it. You need a surgery." And then some get this, like, "You're fine. I don't know what's wrong with you." But you know you're not fine because 'cause you're in pain.
Right. Yeah, so this went on for a really long time, and it would get better, it would get worse, and, I remember in, like, I think it was, like, 2016 approximately, 2015, 2016, I remember going to the doctor um, and he was like, "You have arthritis, like, that's what's wrong with you," and I was just like, "That can't be it because it just hurts more than that," and he actually, did X-rays, and he said, like, that my left knee was, on the X-rays was worse than my right knee, but I was like, "My left knee doesn't hurt at all, but my right knee is, like, in severe pain, so obviously you're missing something," you know?
Mhm. Right. Right. Basic logic would state yes.
Yeah, so that just went on, and then I really wish I could remember how I heard about, Mindbody stuff, because that yeah, it's like a missing piece to my story. I have no idea how I heard about it,
Mm,
but yeah, I was in social work school when this story happened. Like, this happened before. I went to social work school, but I was in social work school when I went to that doctor that I just mentioned, and then
mhm.
graduated and became a therapist. And I'm pretty sure it was in like 2019. Is that right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in 2019 that I got the Curable app,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And at that time I was like, I don't know why, because like maybe it was because I saw something about the app somewhere. Maybe it was something else, but I feel like it might have been something that I read about the app, which I don't even know where I would have been reading about apps. But anyway, um, I got the Curable app, and I was like, I know this pain is mind body pain. I know it
Mhm.
is. I
Mhm.
was like doing the Curable app like very enthusiastically,
Mhm.
and I did stop having the pain in my right knee,
Awesome.
and then a week later, I got the pain in my left knee.
Sure. Yep. Symptom imperative. Yep.
So I was like, "That kind of proves my theory that it was."
Right. Right.
But yeah, it was very frustrating, and, like, I was never really able to do more with the Curable app than that. Then I learned EMDR
Well, that
for
that makes sense, and let me just say to for people listening, that makes sense, like, that that started the process for you, like, doing that sort of psychological switch to, like, "Oh, my body's okay," but there was, like, more, like, and I'm sure, as you're getting into EMDR, like, there was emotional stuff underneath that, like, maybe at that time, like, and I know Curable's changed a lot over the years, like, maybe they do more on that now, but, what I'm
they do, no, they had a whole thing. They had
okay,
4 sections to their app, and one of them was journaling, so
okay,
they had a whole thing about
awesome,
stuff. But no, the app is good, but it's just like it's an app. I mean,
right,
maybe some people can actually find relief from an app, and that's great, but I feel like many people might need more than just an app to help
totally.
them.
Yeah, 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 so yeah, so go on.
Yeah, so, let's see, so after that, I learned EMDR, and I did a lot of processing on myself, which you're not really supposed to do, but whatever. I did it.
Totally.
Um,
Breaking the rules, living on the edge.
exactly. I'm like, "Well, it's I'm the only one who's gonna suffer if I, like, destabilize my mental health, so I'll just do it."
Good for you.
But I mean, also it depends how bad your trauma is, although, I think my trauma was a lot worse than I gave it credit for at the time, so there's that.
Right?
Um, but yeah, so I did a lot of EMDR on myself, a lot, I was doing it, like, I wasn't working it was during the pandemic, and I quit my job, right before I started my private practice. I was like, I didn't I, like, sort of intentionally wanted to take a break because I was just kinda burnt out. And, I took, like, a few months break, and I was just, like, doing lots of EMDR on myself all the time, and, like,
Nice.
yeah, and then I started my practice, but it was still getting going. I had lots of free time. I did lots of EMDR on myself, and, yeah, so I worked through a lot of trauma, but I still had the problem with my knee. Um, I even did do some like EMDR aimed at the knee,
Mhm.
but I think what I was really missing was like the CBT piece, which I guess I didn't give enough importance to because I usually think CBT is like, bullshit. But
Totally. Yeah, 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 totally. And everything has a place. It's certainly, yeah, CBT is thrown away as like garbage and too light and too surface level. But hey, it's important. It has a place.
it does. It really does. I learned that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. What happened next?
Yeah, so then I finally I decided to go to Nicole Sachs's retreat, and that was in 2022. So that was, quite a bit of time later. Um, so I'm like telling all my family and friends, like, yeah, I'm going to this chronic pain retreat. I'm gonna cure my chronic pain, and they're like, yeah, right, that's gonna happen. Sure.
Right. Right. Right, right, right. Oh, you'll be so sorely disappointed, you poor thing. You'll come home sad and dejected.
Yeah. But yeah, so I remember, like, it was at Omega, and, at Omega, there's, like, this big hill right when you come in. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
And
Oh,
I was like,
we've talked about the Omega Retreat on the podcast. So
"Okay,
people,
cool."
not the hill, but we've talked about the retreat.
Yeah, so, I could walk up the hill fine because that's not hard, but with arthritis, but, like, I was like, "I'll never walk down that hill. That is never gonna happen." And then also they had our program in this building that had, like, a little steps at the entrance, and I was like, "Who put a chronic pain program in a building with steps? Like, this is so dumb, and, like, I'm like, this is horrible, and I'm never gonna be able to walk up and down these steps."
Yeah.
And, like, by the end of the retreat, I was, like, walking down the hill, walking down the steps, I was totally fine. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, pretty much fine, and I have been ever since. That's 3 more than 3
That, I mean, that is amazing.
years
So say a
ago.
little bit about, like, what happened at the retreat? Like, what do you think landed for you? Like, what was that? What made that change?
Well, I think there's 2 things. One is, like, which Nicole I feel weird calling her Nicole because I never met her, but people do that, Nicole talks about, um, yeah, which is just seeing so many other people with chronic pain, seeing what they look like, seeing that they look like normal people. Like, you could be in this huge room with, like, I mean, in a way, when you first arrive and you're like, "Wow, this is a very large group," you're kind of like, "I'm not gonna get my one-on-one attention," but it's actually so nice because it's like, 100 people or something, and you're just looking around, they're like, normal people, like, you would not know any of them had chronic pain, so it's like it's kinda just brings it home that, like, okay, this is not like, I'm not a freak.
Mhm.
This is just
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Um, and so I think that was very
Oh, no,
important.
no, that's huge. So to, like, remove that thought, like, "Something's wrong with me. I'm so different than everyone else." To just, like, see all these other, like, quote, unquote, "normal looking people" with chronic pain, I can see why that would, like, just, like, chill your nervous system out.
Exactly, yeah. So that was one thing, and the other thing was, like I say, the CBT, um, like, one of the phrases that I maybe the only one I really remember that I came away with, that I would just say to myself all the time after I came back is, "Uncomfortable is not unsafe."
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically what I would do and, like, it's funny that I didn't totally realize I was doing it because I am a therapist, but, what I would do is I would, like, feel a little twinge in my knee, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, my knee hurts."
Right.
Like, I'm never gonna walk again, like, I'm
Yep.
only, how at the time, and then by the time I'm, 60, I won't be able to walk, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna be in a wheelchair and, like,
Mhm.
cripple, and I'm never
Mhm.
gonna get any exercise, and, like, it's just a like a cascading effect,
As you're saying this, I'm just thinking of my own version of this same, like, downward cascade effect. Totally. I think so many of us have that. Totally. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so, like, I remember when I came back because there is, like, a certain, what is the word? Integration
Mhm.
process of the retreat. Um, I remember when I came back, like, I would be like, I would still have pain, and I'd just be like, "Uncomfortable is not unsafe." And yeah, like, basically the idea that, this is how you feel right now. Like, I mean, I guess, another kind of soundbite for that, which is not from Nicole Sachs, is, right now it's like this.
Mm,
That's a really good one for a lot of things,
mm,
because it's, you know, it doesn't mean it's gonna be horrible in the future, don't think about that. It doesn't mean, like, it's like just don't read any meaning into it, basically.
mhm,
Like, this
mhm,
this is what is happening right now. That's the only fact that you need to be aware of. So, and yeah, I remember, like, I have this memory of, like, in my office and getting up to answer the buzzer when someone arrived and just being like, feeling this pain, and then being like, you know, it's just like now it's just like this, and then I'm like, but how do I know? It's like it's like this leap of faith, and like if you
right,
don't make it, you don't know.
right.
Like, you really don't know. Maybe I will be crippled. I
Yeah.
mean, it does hurt, you know,
Mhm,
but just sort of letting myself take that leap of faith over and over again,
mhm.
basically.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, that's amazing, and, truly remarkable to hear that you're like, "And I've been fine ever since." Like,
Yeah,
ever s that's amazing.
yeah, like, so before that, just to give you some examples, like, when things were more stressful in my life, I would start to use a cane, you
Mhm.
know, um, have not touched a cane, since 2022. Um, I used to, um I used to walk I used to try to walk because I like walking and I wanted to walk, but it would take me, like, an hour to walk a mile,
Mm.
and, I mean, I'm not, like, a super fast walker now, but, like, I think I'm within the normal range of walking speed.
Well,
Yeah.
we've walked together, and I will confirm, yes. You can walk.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I could just walk, and, like, yeah, I mean, I feel like my whole life would have been really curtailed, just, like, normal activities, that I couldn't do, um, and, like, I just don't even have to think about it. I mean, I've been hiking, not, like, on a really super rocky or steep terrain, but I have been hiking. Um, yeah, I could I can walk.
Yeah, no, right, like, and these simple things are, like, really miraculous, like, when your life could be, like, a life of disability, and it's not, like, that is a miracle.
It is.
Yeah. So let's get into talking about trauma, shall we?
Yeah, let's
Okay,
definitely.
cool. So, all right. Uh, so people oftentimes come to chronic pain work and they ask, like, have I been through trauma? And certainly for myself, like at one point, my answer to that was no. And now I know that that is wrong for me. Like I have
Well,
been through traumatic stuff.
I was telling you when we were chatting before this interview that, when I first went to therapy, which was late, because a whole other story, I guess, but right around the time that I went to social work school is when I started my own therapy, and I had to fill out a form that said, like, "Did you ever have any trauma?" And I wrote no. And, like,
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I don't know if I wanna get into exactly what my trauma is, but,
Mhm.
like, I would
Totally.
say it is real trauma. It's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, I wonder if you wanna just take a little bit to talk about that evolution for yourself, whatever you're comfortable sharing, obviously. That evolution for yourself or for clients, the idea of, like, going from thinking, like, "I have not been through trauma," which automatically means, like, I am the problem, not what I've been through or not like, something else. Do you wanna talk a little bit about that, evolution to realizing, like, "Wait,
Well,
I've
I
been
mean,
through trauma."
I do think there's a reason why people don't wanna believe they've been through trauma. I mean, I think that, for one thing, well, I mean, I think it does feel like saying there's something wrong with me to say I survived trauma,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the trauma was caused by your loved ones. I mean, it's very complicated, right? Because, like, I mean, sure, there's people who, just hate their parents, and
Right.
that's I have no problem with that, but, like, there's many people who, I mean, sometimes I really encourage them to hate their parents 'cause after I know what their parents have done, but, like, um
I've been in that position as a therapist too. I feel you. That's a hard line to walk.
yeah, but, I mean, on the other hand, though, like, in most cases, I'd say more commonly, like, that, I mean, it's not black and white, and, very often the person who caused you trauma has also done good things for you, and you could still love them,
Right.
and so it's really hard to say, like, this person that I love, like, caused me, um, a lifetime of misery.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as part of working with clients who are dealing with trauma, something that you're always like dealing with is like, are people ready to work on it? Or are people ready to face it? Or do people even recognize that something bad happened to them? Um, Talk about that, like what it's like to have clients who come to you, some of whom are probably like, I have a symptom and I don't know why. And you know, what's underneath that is some level of trauma. And then other clients who would come to you just like, I know I've been through trauma and I want to work on it. Like, talk about what that's like as a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, so I advertise myself as working with childhood trauma, so most of the people that I get do have an awareness that they had a traumatic childhood and want to work on that, and that does make my job easier in the sense that, um, I don't have to do that piece, right, where you convince somebody that they have trauma, or convince is probably the wrong word, that's not what we do, but, like,
Right.
you
No, I know what you mean.
help them to
It's
explore the
right.
possibility
Right.
that
Right.
they, that they have trauma,
Hmm.
but, I mean, I do get clients who, they came for some other reason. They wanted to come in person, I have an office, or they wanted, they live near here. And some people really don't like some people really extreme trauma, and that the good side to it is that that it's trauma, right?
Hmm.
Like if someone is like beaten by their parents, even at 5, they know like this shouldn't be happening.
Hmm.
This is
Right.
wrong.
Right.
Parents doing something bad to me and
Yeah.
they shouldn't be doing it, you know?
Hmm.
But, like, if it's something more subtle, the child really doesn't know while they're growing up that and they think, like, "I did something wrong, my parents are doing this because I did something wrong," or, "This
Hmm.
is normal, this is just how life is." So, then, having that belief, which is a natural adaptation that children have,
Hmm.
and, loving your parents, there's this real barrier to seeing that they could have done something that actually ended up harming you for whatever reason. I mean, even if it was through ignorance or, their own issues that are which is kind of the same thing, their own
Hmm.
issues that yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, I think that's such an important message for anybody listening to the podcast to recognize, like, if you have chronic pain, it's a good invitation to start questioning, like, am I okay? Was my upbringing okay? Is the way that I'm treated now okay? Was the way that I was treated when I was younger okay? Because I see what you mean. It's like we're not trying to convince everyone they have been through trauma. You know, it's not like that. But I think there is an element of like therapists really do want to help people see like side with themselves. You know, like if you're in pain, okay, then you're in pain. Like something's wrong. And we can be on your side versus be on the side of your family or your parents. Like let's just try it out. You know, let's just try being on your side and see what comes up. I mean, that's what stands out to me from what you're saying.
And I mean, another way to look at it too is like, it's not like a black and white thing between,
Yeah.
learning and trauma. I
Yes.
mean, you could make it that way, but the way that I see it, it's like people learn things through lots of different like, children are constantly learning how to behave, how to feel,
Mhm,
what things mean in the world, and if that learning turns out to be not be useful later in life, then you can work on that and try to unlearn the things that were not helpful, and, the way that you learn that could be more or less traumatic, but even if it wasn't something particularly bad that happened that taught you that, if it's not a useful thing to do, to know, to think, to believe, then you can change it.
very good point. Yes, some like negative cognitive schemas for seeing the world are not necessarily developed through trauma. They're just things you learned that are not helpful. Um, why don't you talk to us a little bit about like, do you have any examples of, you know, the quote unquote learnings that your clients have brought with them into therapy that you have helped them undo? Because I'm sure people listening might be able to relate to some of that stuff. I'm not lovable or I'm bad.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to just talk about like schemas? Like, I mean, one thing that I was think what came to mind when you said that was one that is pretty common is, I'm responsible for making sure that people that I love are happy,
Yeah,
and that's just, like, not your responsibility, not possible,
yeah,
but, parents who may have been kind of needy could have just kind of relied on their kids for, emotional support, and
mm,
that teaches the kid that that's their job to make sure everybody's okay, and
mhm.
it's not.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Another one that I can think of is, like, whatever it is, like, it's me, like, it's my fault, it's about me.
Right. Well, yeah, I think that's something that, like, children naturally go to, like,
Right,
everything is me. It's like a defense because they, are so powerless, so, like, it gives them more of a sense of control. Like, if my dad hit me because 'cause I'm bad, then I, just don't just stop being bad and he won't hit me, and I have the power to change that,
right.
you know?
Right. And then, in adulthood, in therapy is where those beliefs can really be, like, worked out and worked through, like, that not everything is your fault, or keeping other people "happy," quote, unquote, is not your responsibility. I mean, that's huge. And, I mean, therapy, journaling, your own practices. I mean, therapy, is obviously gonna be really helpful for, dealing with that kinda stuff, but it's not like I wanna position this as, like, therapy is the only solution.
Right. No, I mean, I think there are people who heal without therapy. I mean, therapy is one way. I think it helps a lot.
Yep.
But I mean, you have to do your own work. A therapist is gonna just guide you and give you ideas about how to do that, but you still have to do it. So,
Absolutely. No, totally agree. Right, because a therapist, I mean, that's a good point for both of us as therapists maybe to make to people listening to this, is like, a therapist cannot save you. A therapist cannot fix you. Like, a therapist can do a lot to help you, but you are the one, like, no therapist can fix all your problems for you. Like, you're the one who's gonna do that, and the therapist will be there to support you, guide you, advise you, facilitate, help you process, be the expert in the room, but, like, I've had clients who want me to do the work for them, and it's literally impossible. I mean, I don't what do you think about that?
yeah, I mean, that's a negative belief. You could say like a false belief that people can that you can be saved.
Good
Yeah.
point. That's such a good point. Okay, let's talk about this, because I know that you do a lot of parts work, um, which is awesome. So, I something that I would like to explore a little bit is, like, some archetypal parts that people who listening to this might have. Like, one that I can think of is the inner critic is a part
Sure.
that, like, a lot of us, myself included, certainly have, strongly. So yeah, do you wanna talk to us a little bit about how you how
Yeah. So, I mean, all right, one thing I would say just to start it off is that, like, while I do think it's useful to think about archetypes, that it's also like these are more like questions than they are answers because, like, everybody's parts are going to be individual and different and specific to them.
Mhm,
But yeah, having a part that in some way criticizes you and keeps you in line
mhm,
is very common. Um, I think it could most often probably be like keeping the person um, in line with some rules that their parents made that were gonna, they were gonna get in trouble if they don't do these things. So the part is kind of like keeping them from getting in trouble.
mhm,
That's like the most common reason to have an inner critic. I've also seen a critical part that um, was more just like an angry part that is kind of taking it out on the client. Like the client has a lot of anger that they're not really having access to, and they're turning the finger on themselves by being critical of themselves. So already there's sort of two types in a way of critical part, and
mhm,
probably more than two, even if we wanted to do types, and then each part is going to be unique. But but the important thing with parts, and it really critical part is a great place to talk about it, is that all your parts are part of you,
mhm,
and they all have goals that they believe are for your benefit.
hmm,
So you can't get rid of them,
mhm,
and trying is only going to lead to worse problems.
mhm,
Uh, but they can change. Parts can change. And basically, they can change if you treat them kindly, give them things that they wanted that they may not have gotten as kids, and you listen to them and understand what they want and need, and explain in a way that they can understand how there's a better way that's not going to be criticizing you, that's going to help them to get what they want. If say, all right, like say for example, you have insomnia, your part is keeping you up all night because the part wants you to do well on this project at work. Tell the part, if I sleep well, I'm going to do better on the project. Maybe the part will let you sleep. You
Mm.
know, um, or if the part is really angry and taking out anger on you, you tell the part like, you know what? I bet you're really angry at mom because mom's the one who did X, Y, and Z. And then the part could be like, oh yeah, okay, you're right.
Mhm. Right. Right. But, okay, I'm so glad you're saying that because, like, let me I'm just, like, relating to this very deeply, and let me see if I can, like, make this make sense. Um, One of the things we talk about on this podcast is the idea of patiently attuning to your true self as a very important part of healing. And I have certainly a part of me that is an absolute taskmaster. Like, it will not let me rest. It will not let me relax. It will, like, it does not relent in, like, criticizing me and just pushing me to do more and more and more and more. And my idea all through my life, up until like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, my idea was like this part just has to go. Like, this part is bad. There's something wrong with this. This is a problem, and I need to get it like out of here. And when I mean, it was truly a radical cognitive transformation for me when I was like, oh, I act like extending kindness towards myself does not just mean trying to axe this part violently out of my psyche and get it out of here. Like, extending kindness towards myself means like extending kindness towards that. That's crazy. Like, that's how I felt at first. But it has it's I mean, I'll share from my own personal experience. Um Extending kindness towards the, like, harsh and rough parts of myself has been so much better for me than trying to violently axe them out of my psyche, like, so much better. And those parts are not as chill as they could be, that's for sure, but, like, definitely more chill now than when I didn't even know that I should or could, or that it would help me to, like, extend kindness to those parts. So as I love what you're saying. I mean, really radical transformation in myself.
Great. Yeah. 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 I've seen it many times. For
Awesome.
sure.
Awesome. Let me ask you this. What would you say people typically misunderstand about trauma or about trauma therapy? And this could be clients, or this could be, just like people who you might talk to about trauma or trauma therapy.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just about the word trigger and triggers.
Mm,
And I think that a lot of the time people don't, like the general public or new clients may not understand what that means.
mm,
Um, because like basically when something bad happens to you in your life, um, you're gonna have a negative reaction. That's normal. That's
right.
unavoidable.
Yeah.
That's in fact probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, suppose your boss yells at you, right? So your boss yells at you and you feel guilty and angry. Um, so that would be a normal reaction. So what you would want to ask yourself is like, was my reaction proportionate to the event that happened, right?
Mm,
So like if your boss yells, raises his voice a little bit and says like, you know, this project is late, and then you say like, I'm sorry, I'll get it to you by the end of the day. And he's like, okay, well, don't do this again. And then cry for the rest of the week.
mm,
Or probably you had a stronger reaction, or you could say an overreaction, right, to the actual event.
mhm,
But there's always like your reaction is never it's never really an overreaction because you're reacting to something.
mhm. Yep.
The question is like, are you reacting to what's happening now? or are you reacting to something from the past? And that's when
Mhm.
we bring in the word trigger. If it's a trigger, it means that in addition to the very natural reaction that you would always have had about what just happened now, you're also having another reaction, which is to something that happened in the past. And if that's the case, then what you might want to do in order to, feel better is to process that thing from the past so that you don't overreact to present
I
situation.
love that. I love the idea that, like, there's no such thing as an overreaction because you're reacting to something. I love that. And that I think is a beautiful for people listening, a beautiful way to, like, validate yourself, but also to challenge yourself because what you're also saying is, like, you're reacting to something, but you're not reacting to what you think you're reacting to.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I mean and it's really hard. Like I know this from my own experience. Like it's really hard when you're very upset about something to even believe that it's not the thing that
Right,
you're upset about. And even once you know that it's not, it's hard or yeah, it's hard to make yourself fully take that in and believe it. I mean, it's hard to even get the idea to begin with. Like it's hard to come up with the idea that this is not what you're actually upset about. And then once you
right.
come up with it and it seems rational, it's still hard to take it in. Um, and then it's hard to not have a reaction. I mean, not have that reaction to the past.
Right.
Um, one thing that we always ask clients is like, "Is this familiar? Does this feel familiar?"
Mm.
You know,
Mhm,
because if it feels familiar, then chances are it's something that you have brought in from the past
mhm,
that that is repeatedly brought in from the past, and every time that that thing comes up, you feel this way.
mhm,
So that's a clue. But, it's also, um, even if you're triggered doesn't mean you're wrong too, right?
mhm,
Like, someone like, your boss could be ready to fire you, like, could
mhm,
get fired. They're
mhm,
also traumatized, you know?
mhm.
So, like, it's very tricky.
Right, right, absolutely. Yup, life is not easy, that's for sure. Well, okay, I just wanna ask you a couple more questions before we round out today. Um, what is the best advice that a mentor or supervisor ever gave you about trauma therapy?
I mean, one thing that comes to mind is, this saying which apparently originated with the military, "Slow is smooth and smooth is fast."
Yeah.
So, basically, that means that if you try to process stuff too fast, if you try to, like, just, rush yourself with any kind of healing, that you're just gonna make it worse and make it take longer. So, rushing is not faster. Being slow is actually faster than rushing.
Yeah. I love that. That's a good especially I think I mean, for me, while in my recovery from chronic pain, it's like what I want is for everything to be over immediately, So I'm like, I will do anything. I will journal about whatever. I will do whatever. But that's a good reminder. Um, any other good advice that you want to share?
Helpless, hopeless, and forever. That's the definition of trauma. So if something feels like it's like you're helpless, there's no hope, and it's gonna last forever, then that is trauma.
Okay, that's a good wait. Say that again because that's a good definition.
Helpless, hopeless, and forever.
Yeah, that's trauma. Helpless, hopeless, and forever. Yeah. And I think one thing that I'm hearing in there is like people may feel like, "Oh, I've gotten out of the situation. I'm no longer in the relationship. I'm no longer under my parents' roof. I'm no longer at that school or at whatever it may be." But and yet it still feels like it's happening. Like the dynamics still feel like it's happening. It's forever.
Right, right, and it's like yeah, and I mean, you may not feel like that all the time, but, like, this feeling, and like I said, it can be triggered feeling, so, like, your boss yells at you and you feel helpless, hopeless, and, like, this is going to last forever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as we're coming to a close, let me ask you this. Where can people find you? Say people listening to this, they're like, I need a trauma therapist. I'm relating to this. I want to reach out to Laura. Where can they find you?
Thank you. Well, I have a website, it's laurapearllcsw.com. So that's probably the best way. You could also look in Psychology Today. I listed there. So Laura Pearl, that's me.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being on here. Any final words you have, as somebody who like has gone through the chronic pain journey, is doing way better. Any words that you have for people as we close out?
Yeah, just um, I guess really tune into yourself and you'll know you already know whether this is right for you.
I love that. I love that because that's one of we talk on the podcast about, like, there's like the psychological work, the emotional work, and then part 3 is patiently attuning to your true self. So we are speaking the same language.
Cool.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. And truly, I mean, of course, thank you so much for like suggesting this stuff for me and introducing
Oh,
this stuff to me.
I'm so glad that it was, beneficial for you and
1000%.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. And thank you for being a great colleague and friend and
Oh,
advisor and all that.
well, right back at you. Thank you for being a great colleague and friend.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's been so great. I will see you soon. And for everybody who's listening, this is Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain, and I will talk to you next week.